see. Mr. Speaker, it's an honor to rise today and to join in the debate on Bill C-50. Now, the Liberals call this the Making Political Fundraising Events More Open and Transparent Act. But from my read, it should be really called the Protecting Liberals from Their Fundraising Practices Bill, because that is, of course, is entirely what this bill proposes to do. Now, how did we get here? Well, we know that the Liberal Party, in particular the Prime Minister, was caught and exposed on numerous occasions in what media called cash for access fundraising. Now, a practice where typically someone of significant wealth hosts a private event where people of similar wealth pay large sums of money to have special access to the Prime Minister or to a minister. Now, obviously this is a concern, but let me explain exactly why. As one example, we know that extremely wealthy Chinese nationals played a role in some of the cash for access fundraising activities with the Prime Minister. And likewise, we also know that this Liberal cabinet has signed on off of some very questionable acquisitions of Canadian companies by Chinese interests. That is troubling for many Canadians. Much so, more so when one considers that the lobbying activities under the Liberal government have literally exploded. Now, I suspect this is the most lobbied government in Canadian history, and why is that? Why are so many lobbyists often found at these private cash for access fundraisers? Even in this proposed Liberal legislation, registered lobbyists are indeed still welcome to attend cash for access fundraisers, because at the end of the day, this legislation in no way seeks to curtail or otherwise discourage cash for access fundraising events. It basically seeks to legitimize them, and I would argue by extension, encourage more of them. If you were to summarize this bill, basically it says that selling cash for access in exchange for political donations of money is totally okay, so long as you advertise the event, less than 1 week in advance, I might add. Tell us who's on the guest list, including the address, and how much the access fee is, and basically you're good to go. Can anyone attend? Well, pretty much yes. Do you have to disclose what actually happens at the event? Heck no. Can lobbyists attend? Absolutely. Can they actively lobby while there? Absolutely yes, but they are required to report that. Now, does the legislation require someone to be there to monitor it? Heck no. What exactly does lobby the government mean under this proposed bill? We don't know. It doesn't specifically say. Now, seriously, does anyone see a problem here? Now, I can imagine the discussions that must go on behind the scenes when the Liberals created the bill. We need a bill that totally makes cash for access fundraising legal to avoid these nasty media stories, but the bill cannot in any way stop the fundraising from occurring. In this regard, Mr. Speaker, the bill is perfect, legitimizing that which should not be legitimized, at least in my view. The really interesting thing here is the Liberals think we need this bill at all. Now, let me explain. We all know the reason why we're debating this bill is due to the fact the Prime Minister was caught multiple times in cash for access fundraisers. And being a Prime Minister who's all about his brand, that uncomfortable fact did not sit well with him. So the Liberals could have simply stopped doing these kinds of cash for access fundraisers. Or at very least, there is nothing stopping the Liberal Party of Canada from adopting these policies they are now imposing in this bill. But of course, it is because it's all about the brand. Instead, we are essentially legislating into law what should not be occurring in the first place. Or this should be the Liberal Party of Canada policy, because hopefully the next leader of the Liberal Party will put an end to this unethical practice. However, making cash for access fundraisers legal with certain guidelines is more brand friendly. And who doesn't support the brand? I wonder if the Liberals will next legislate regulations on how they can accept a free luxury vacation to a private island. Now, I would also like to point out that from my own political experience, at least I've never observed any of these federal political parties, aside from the Liberals, from using these kinds of tactics. Now, when I brought the previous Prime Minister to my riding, we held a barbecue where the entry fee was well under $100, and that was only to cover the cost of the venue, the food, and the logistics, such as staging. Now, I know when the former leader of the NDP was in my riding, the event that he hosted, I recall, was free to attend. So basically, this is why I referred to the bill this bill as the Liberals protect us from ourselves bill, because it's only the Liberals, from my experience, who use these kinds of engagements for cash for access fundraising. Now, I wonder if this bill is open to an amendment. As an example, we learned recently that an incumbent Liberal MP is now protected from the threat of democracy, provided they have a healthy war chest back at home in their electoral district association. Given in the past, this Prime Minister has said he would not intervene in candidate nomination promises only to break his word and intervene, we know that this Prime Minister cannot be trusted. So possibly we could amend this bill to suggest democracy should prevail and that no candidate should be excluded from the opportunity to run for public office because an incumbent could use cash for access fundraisers to buy immunity with the Liberal Party. Because we all know that this Prime Minister plays favorites within his own caucus. Some Liberal MPs would get the help, others would not. Now, that is something to think about, Mr. Speaker. Now, before I close, I will simply add this thought. Recently, it was pointed out that this Liberal government has the slowest legislative activity record in almost 2 decades. Now, I'm not here to praise the official opposition for that fact, or to criticize the Liberals for the lack of it. However, when there is less legislation on the table, so to speak, it does speak volumes of what bills the Liberals do see as a priority to advance to the House. The fact that a bill that seeks to legitimize cash for access fundraisers is a Liberal priority speaks volumes about the priorities of this Prime Minister. Because we all know this bill does nothing for the middle class and those seeking to join it, because of course they cannot afford to attend the Prime Minister's cash for access fundraisers. Now, this bill does nothing for people with disabilities. This helps nothing for citizens looking for affordable housing. It does not help single mothers who have been unfairly cut off from the Canada Child Benefit support payments. Nor does it help federal public servants not getting paid by the Phoenix payroll system. This bill only helps the Prime Minister with his brand when he does cash for access fundraising. And Mr. Speaker, that's exactly why I will be voting against this bill. Thank you.